Hi, I'm Hannah Foxley, and I'm an ordinary woman who, through no choice of my own, has been on an extraordinary journey. But what I've learnt is that on the other side of hell is more than you could have ever dreamed of. My story starts on the 5th of July 2011. I'm aged 33, and I'm sitting in the hospital waiting room with my best friend to get my test results. You see, a few weeks before, I found a lump in my breast. But I'm telling myself that everything's going to be fine. I'm done with bad news. You see, exactly 8 months ago to the day, on the 5th of December 2010, I lost my beloved father, holding his hand as he took his last breath. A month after that, I lost my job. So you see, I feel like I'm done with bad news. It's got to be good news. Eventually, we're called into the consultant's room, and as we sit waiting for him to come in, we try and pass the time laughing and joking and taking our mind off of it. And eventually, the door opens and 4 people enter the room. At this point, I've checked out, and it's like I'm in a dream sequence. I'm looking down and I can see myself, I can see my friend, I can see the nurses, and I can see the consultant sitting on the bed, and they're all talking to me, and I can see their mouths moving, but the words aren't landing until these words. I'm so sorry, but you've got cancer. Bang! I feel like I've been hit by a train. I am suddenly back in the room, and I am back in my body. As the tears start to roll down my cheeks, I know in that moment that life as I know it will never be the same again. My next thought is, oh my God, am I going to lose my hair? How am I going to work? How am I going to pay my bills? What's going to happen to my horse? Who's going to look after him? Am I going to die? How am I going to break the news to my mum? The fear and horror just kept crashing through me. The consultant told me that I wasn't going to die and that I would be okay, but because I'm young, they wanted to give me all of the treatment. So I was due to have an operation to remove the cancer, followed by 6 months of chemotherapy, followed by radiotherapy. He also told me that he wouldn't wish chemo on his worst enemy. So I started on the conveyor belt of cancer treatment. 3 weeks before I was due to start my chemotherapy, my first love, who I still cared for very deeply, died of a brain tumour. He'd just started chemotherapy and had a bad reaction to it and died 2 days later. I found out via Facebook. He was 32 and left a 1-year-old son. I felt like I'd been hit by a train again. I was just punched in the stomach. So the day of my first chemotherapy session arrived. It was 12 days after my 34th birthday. And I got into the car, I put my key in the ignition, fired up the engine, and felt the vibrations of the car. Looked at the dashboard and noticed how dusty it was and thought I really need to clean my car. But my next thought was, what's the point? Who knows where this journey is going to end? And then my mind came to this picture taken just a week before, and the resonance of walking into the misty abyss of the unknown with my best friend. And I really wished he was with me then. The next morning, I woke up and I felt really poisoned, but I was determined to carry on as normal. So I got up and I went to the yard to see my horse, gave him a big hug and got on and rode. And it was that weekend at the beginning of October last year when it was really hot. And as I felt the sun on my face, I felt just for a moment that I was alive and that things were okay. Little did I know that was to be the last time I rode my horse. See, as my foot hit the ground as I dismounted, it signalled the beginning of my own personal hell. I felt like the life had been sucked out of me. And that was pretty much how I was to feel for the next 6 months. Every time I got used to one level of hell, I just sank to another, and it was completely relentless. I had to still work though. On day 14, my hair started to fall out. And because I didn't want to deal with finding clumps of hair on the pillow and around the house, I got into the shower every day and massaged it, and it came out in 3 days. And I remember on the 3rd day, I got out of the shower, stood in front of the mirror, shut my eyes, took a deep breath, opened my eyes, and saw a woman looking back at me that I'd never seen before. But we were to become very well acquainted. I was dying inside, but I made myself a commitment that day that I would always love her. As I said, I had bills to pay, so I still had to work. And I tried to carry on as normal, even though nothing was normal. So I dragged myself into the office, deathly pale pallor, eyes streaming, feeling like death warmed up, no hair, looking like an absolute freak, only to be ignored by my colleagues. You see, people don't really know how to deal with seeing someone go through cancer treatment. And they didn't know how to give, and I didn't know how to ask. Some days I felt so bad I could barely sit up at my desk. I can honestly say I've never felt so lonely and isolated in all my life. Then, a week before I was due to finish chemo, I was grey, putting one foot in front of the other felt like climbing a mountain. I got a twinge in my breast and I found another lump. But this time I didn't need any tests. I didn't need a consultant to tell me the answer. I already knew this old friend. Because it was the second time around, the only option left was to have a mastectomy. And they wanted me to have it very quickly. My stomach was knotted and my chest was tight with the terror of where else in my body this old friend could have appeared. I really believed that this could be the end of things for me in this life, and I wondered how on earth I was going to break the news to my family. The sheer volume of tests that I had to have, I no longer felt that my body was my own. I was injected with needles big enough for my horse. I was put through every scanner imaginable. I was made to drink glow-in-the-dark radioactive fluid. In fact, I was so radioactive, I wasn't allowed near pregnant women or children. I was like the Ready Brek kid. One curious side effect of one of the injections that they gave me was an almost orgasmic experience, which, while was a bit of light relief, felt wholly inappropriate in the circumstances. Oh, the joys of being a woman. So, while at home, recovering after my mastectomy, I got to thinking about my life. See, facing death had made me realise that I really needed to start living, and I wanted to take control of my own destiny. I also wondered how many other women could find themselves in the position that I'd found myself in. So while undergoing 5 weeks of daily microwaving, otherwise known as radiotherapy, I started to get out and speak to other women. And what I found was that a lot of women could find themselves in my position because they'd done a me and buried their heads in the sand and hoped that everything would be fine and it would never happen to them. So I made a decision that I wanted to do something about it. And I also decided that I'd like to put my own dent in the universe. So I also felt a real desire to give back. So 10 days after finishing radiotherapy, with no clients, enough money to last me till Christmas, flying by the seat of my pants and praying for miracles, I quit my job and I set up my business. It's probably the scariest decision that I have ever made, but hey, when you've looked death in the face, nothing really seems that scary anymore. And miracles are happening, loads of them, every day. I get to speak at events like this, and I get to speak to women every single day and make a difference. I'm also now an ambassador for Breakthrough Breast Cancer, and I feel so proud of all of these achievements. I've also done these beautiful pictures with a friend and photographer, Justin Paget, so that other women can appreciate the beauty beyond scars. And to think, a year ago today, I wasn't even halfway through chemotherapy. So what I've learned is that through pushing through my own personal hell, I've found my piece of heaven. Thank you.